Welcome to a couple of bunkies. Sometimes nature gives us a hand on making new videos. We have a handful of silver maple trees in our front yard that are towards the end of their life, so they're dropping limbs like crazy. That's one of the reasons why a few months ago we ended up doing a video on this Shaker mini chainsaw. They ended up providing it for us for free, but we're still using it on a daily basis. So one instance, we ended up having one of the limbs pierce our gutter. So this seemed like the perfect time to DIY a solution. So I checked up on one of my DIY books to see what it had to say. It started off by saying clean with a solvent and wipe away with a rag, and to patch up with asphalt roof cement. And since this hole is bigger than a 1/4 inch, I need to cover that patch with some sheet metal. Cut the piece of sheet metal and then press it over the hole where the patch is, making sure it overlaps on both sides. Crimp it in with pliers and apply a thick layer of roof cement under and over top of this patch. I usually love obeying these books. With the amount of damage that I have, I'm thinking it would be best just to replace this portion of gutter. These things come in 10-foot sections and they're only about $12 a piece. After cutting the gutter and painting it, I set up my ladder so I could use it as scaffolding. I set out all of my tools that I needed and all the parts I needed in order to fix this issue. Now I can climb on the roof and assess the situation. We have a leaf filter system that is going to end up being the downfall of all of this, but I'll do my best to see what I can recover. First, I start removing the leaf filter system with a Phillips screwdriver. I have to do this on both sides of the damage in order to fix this area. So if you're ever interested in installing a leaf filter system, this is the type of material that ends up getting through the filter. So observing this, I would flush out the gutters every once in a while to get rid of this excess debris. First, I take out the tools that I think I'll be using during this project. Now I remove all the gutter hangers that are in my way. These were 1/2 inch self-tapping gutter screws, and I took them off with a ratcheting wrench. I cut out the small section of gutter that's been damaged. Starting off, I used some tin snips, then I moved to a handsaw. This process would have went a lot faster if I would have had a reciprocating saw at the time. Now I set the new section of gutter on top of the old, making sure everything looks good. I also identify the direction of the slope, so I can position the gutter layered in a way that it would flow downward. I do a quick dry fit to make sure everything looks good. When doing this, you want the upward slope to be overlapping the lower slope, so the water drains down onto the next piece and then further down on the next piece. And I cut a small piece off the top of the gutter where the two pieces wrap around each other. After one side is done, I place the newly cut and painted gutter into place and cut out the portion on the other side. After I make sure this fits perfectly, I clean up the portions of gutters before adding the construction adhesive. I added a fairly liberal amount of construction adhesive to make a very good seal. Then I place the section of gutter. I had to make some small adjustments and trim this area. Then I proceeded to drill some small holes and hold the two pieces of sheet metal together with some rivets. There's a small piece of flashing that I end up having to bend back into place. Now I reattach the gutter hangers. You can use a screwdriver for this, but I used a nut driver to make it go a little bit quicker. Now I can start reattaching the leaf filter system that we had on our gutter. Again, I ended up using a nut driver in order to attach this. You can use a screwdriver. And without realizing it, I let my battery go out on my camera. and I partially attached the other one. So the leaf filter system that I have has a plastic section that goes underneath and a stainless steel section that goes over top. The stainless steel section was just bent, it wasn't broken, and the leaf filter plastic part ended up being busted quite a bit, but it was intact enough that I could reattach the metal sheet within the plastic part and get everything to hold together and look fairly normal. I reached out to Leaf Filter to see if they would be able to help us and just replace this small section. They wanted to charge us quite a bit for it, and I wasn't willing to do that, especially when it was mostly usable. As my grandfather used to say, it's good enough for who it's for. Now I can reattach this section of the leaf filter. This honestly looks 100 times better than it did before. The stainless steel mesh just had to be coaxed right into place. But I also need to consider the little bit of damage to the flashing and to the roof. When redoing the roof, I make sure to keep a few pieces of spare shingles, and this is the exact reason why. Since this is a tiny little nick, I'm not going to replace the whole shingle. I'm just going to place a small shingle underneath the existing one, and attached it with roofing nails. We're really lucky that the damage was so close to the edge of the roof, so everything was fairly easy to work on. I waited a brief period of time until the glue would set. Then I touched up paint in that area. And honestly, from the distance, you can't even tell it's there. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. We try to release new content every week.